Welcome to the Lemons and Pineapples podcast. I'm your host, Emma O'Brien, personal development coach, heart math practitioner, dog photographer, and entrepreneur. In this podcast, I share tools, strategies, and amazing guest interviews to help you improve your mindset and your well-being with a sprinkle of fun and probably some mention of dogs along the way. So without further ado, let's squeeze the day. Before we jump into today's episode, I'm looking for a handful of people who can beta test a new coaching package I'm offering. I work with people who are stuck in their lives or careers and would like support in making changes, as well as people who battle with the effects of stress and anxiety. If you feel you would benefit from some coaching, which I'm going to offer at a 50% discount for my beta testers, please send me a DM on Instagram at Emma O'Brien Coach, and we can arrange a time to chat. Hi folks, welcome to episode 23 of the podcast. Today, my guest is Mary Bicknell, and we're talking about the bold way to make more money. But first, a bit about Mary. Mary Bicknell is a CEO, speaker, author, podcaster, and former psychotherapist turned success and business mentor for overly educated, under-earning women who want more out of life than the grind. Mary helps you dump out your mental closet full of old smelly thoughts, gives them a good shake to see if they pass the sniff test, and teaches you how to let them go, right to the trash, or secretly teleport them New York medium style to the girl who teased you in middle school. She believes in being bold, making more than enough cash so you can take a Tuesday nap if you so choose, and presses you to lead a life uncommon, all while screwing the nays. Welcome to the podcast, Mary.
Thank you, Emma. This is so exciting. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
It's great to have you here, and I'm really excited to have a conversation about making money. A lot of my other podcasts have been about mindset and mental health stuff, but nothing relating to this topic, which is a bit of a controversial one, really, for us to be tackling. Yeah. So I would love to kick us off by asking you, what, in your opinion, is the biggest hurdle that female entrepreneurs face when it comes to making money?
I think, definitely over the last 25 plus years, I'm working with thousands of women in every kind of business and all different monetary stratospheres, whether it's an 8-figure to the Sally Sue new person. One of the single biggest thing is her ability to value what she has to offer. And so you said, you've done a lot of calls or a lot of podcasts on mindset, and we can't disregard that mindset is a key piece of it. And yet there is something I like to teach: psychology and selling. So there's the reality of you have to have the right frame of mind and get over your mental shit while concurrently learning the actual skills to sell, market, and deliver a product, service, or whatever the hell it is, so that that you actually make money.
Yeah, and I think this piece about valuing ourselves more is so important. It is funny to me that you can have a lot of men who show up in the world and they're completely mediocre, but they show up and they go, hey, I'm worth it, and they charge loads of money. And women, it seems to me, are the ones who question, should I charge that? Am I good enough to charge that? And like you said, the women you work with, they're massively educated and under earning because they just don't step into their power and value themselves.
Yes. Well, it has a lot to do with obviously the way we're raised also. So I believe strongly this is the money. So everybody pay attention. If you can learn to allow yourself to feel uncomfortable, that's the key. And most women, let me just rephrase that. Most women are not willing. I'm going to just say it. You're not willing to do the work to really feel uncomfortable, because it's not easy. And anybody who's telling you it's so easy to make $1 million or even 200 grand or whatever, that's a lie. There's a lot of steps involved, and you have to get the skills. But really, it has to do so much with our conditioning, and we're risk averse. And that's how we were raised. Be careful, Sally. Don't climb that tree, Sally. All of these things. And don't raise your hand. Don't be bold. Don't speak up. You're being bitchy. The same same exact phrase coming out of a man's mouth as a woman's mouth may be interpreted completely differently. And so I think that the biggest problem is once you overcome your fear around fearing fear or feeling uncomfortable or having rejection, that's the game changer. Right? It's the game changer. And the way in which to do that is you have to get serious with yourself. It's like one of the things I teach is called the regret-proof life. And it's really the bottom line is you're going to be dead forever anyhow. You're going to be dead forever anyhow. And when you truly get that, that's a game changer. So that's one piece of the puzzle, right? And then it's just literally the skill and understanding that marketing, selling, and delivering are formulaic. So it is something, there's like the old saying, like, salespeople are born. Yeah, salespeople are born and then they learn the skill. And it literally is a skill. Marketing is formulaic. When I teach my clients marketing, I'm like, as soon as I teach you this, you're going to see it on every commercial and any ad, in your magazine or whatever, or pop up, whatever Facebook ad, it's formulaic. People can learn women can learn these skills, but you have to be willing to take risk, period. And if you don't take any risks, that's, I think that is the biggest thing. Like you said, men are raised differently. They're like, run for it, Bobby, go for it. It's like, they're so like, they don't, I don't know. I don't have a son. So I have a daughter, but she's a senior. She's going off to college next year. And every now and again, we're out and about, and I listen now as the wise mother of a almost college child, listening to the way women talk to their children. And I think, God, I was just like that. They're like, be careful, slow down, blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, nobody's really listening. The kids aren't listening to that. It's almost pointless to even say it. However, I have been looking and listening, and I hear them speak to their daughters differently than their sons.
Yeah.
Or even friends. There's a different way. Men have it's expected for men to be the primary cash earner, and women don't take that on. Oh, we could talk so long about this. So go ahead.
Yeah, yes. And I just think it's there's so many valuable points here. And the one thing that I also want to add in here is we're often told as women, it's not attractive to put yourself out there. It's not attractive to talk yourself up. It's not attractive. It's, arrogance is not an attractive. Well, it's an attractive trait in a man, but it's not an attractive trait in a woman. It's not feminine to stand out. There's almost this piece, you've kind of got to wait for someone to find you. And the way you get out in the world and the way you succeed is by putting yourself out there. So my question for you is, talking about getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. What's your first step to help someone who's thinking, this is really interesting, but I don't know what that would look like? Tell me more about that.
Yeah, there's a couple of things. One is something I call the beneficial brag. And, exactly what you're saying, right? That women were not supposed to brag. We're not supposed to be like, look what I can do. However, if you don't stand up and say, look what the hell I'm capable of, first of all, you're not going to have a business. Secondly, is someone else is going to pass you by. I talk about, don't be Safeway vanilla. Safeway is, a local grocery store here where I live. Don't be Safeway vanilla ice cream. Not a lot of people are buying that. And so, beneficial bragging means that you have learned the skill to articulate what you're capable of helping your client do without being a snotty bitch about it, what you're saying, but with the ability for that potential client to say, oh, Mary knows what she's talking about. So here's an example. I would say, and actually you did that, right? It's woven into my bio. So I would say something along the lines, I've seeded that. I've said, oh, after working with thousands of clients over the last 20 plus years, and as I weave in psychology with the skill of selling, because I weave in my background is a clinician with a successful business owner who owns 2 homes. So someone may say, well, look at Mary, listen to her, she's bragging. Yeah, I am saying. Also, I have 2 homes. I have 7 figures plus in the bank. Would you rather work with me or Sally Jane, who just decided this weekend she's going to tell you what to do? You have to recognize that you are different and you have to choose to be different. And that is different than the herd mentality that girls are accustomed to, right?
Yeah.
We are told, be in the clique, be in the group, being outside of that, from a primal, by primal, with our brain chemistry and our brain science, it is like you go outside the tribe, that's a problem. So we're conditioned, and it's a biological thing also. So it's really like takes a lot of mental, guts to put yourself out there, because when you do, I promise you, everybody's going to come out of the closet and be like, oh my God, look at her. She thinks she's online. Look at what she's on. She's showing up online, all the things. Yeah. And you have to be willing to take that. You have to choose you first. So that's one thing. The other thing is, everybody can do this right now, is pull out a piece of paper and across the top, say 100 successes. I have every client do this. And most women can get to the first 20-ish, and they all sound like this. So I would say something like, I have 3 different degrees. I moved out of the house before I graduated. I've owned numerous businesses. I'm happily married, 19 years. I have a beautiful, and then they get stuck. And see, what happens is we devalue even the small things. So you have to value the small things. For example, my decorations at Christmas and Halloween look like a store. I'm really good at that. Plus, I have a degree in interior design, or whatever. Like, I make really good, caramel. Like, you've got to also value the small things, because the small things also are the stepping stones to the huge success.
Yeah.
Those tips right there. You got to do them.
I think it's brilliant. And it's something, I agree with you, it's very hard for people to do. I had a client recently, and I asked her to write down 25 ways. She was great. And actually, she'd been struggling with this belief of, I'm totally useless. So I said to her, you're absolutely not. I'd like you to write down 25 ways you are brilliant. She sent me the list, and she had entitled it 25 ways I am not totally useless. And she could only get to 17. And she said to me, this was so hard for me. I couldn't get past that. And that's part of the joy of being a coach, is you can help coach people around that to start to shift that mindset. But I think this comes down to the point of girls being taught to be modest and to, to be quiet, and, good girls don't speak up, because it's what we're taught. Don't be difficult. I think that's the other thing. Don't be emotional. Ooh,
right.
And I heard there's a great reel going around on Instagram at the moment that was saying something about women who are interesting, and actually most interesting women will be described as being difficult.
I love that. I know I've been described as challenging. And I think that, no change does not happen without a catalyst. Yeah. And most women don't want to be the catalyst. Most women don't want to be that change. We say that we want to, and here's the inconsistency, right? It's like, what do you want to do? Well, I want to change the world. In order to change the world, you need to step out, you need to show up, you need to be visible, you need to plant a flag in the sand, you need to be controversial, because otherwise you're bland, no one will notice you, and you need to make a shit ton of money. And so this conversation today is about money. And so people are like, Mary, you're all about the money. Of course I'm about the money. And there's a couple reasons. Number one is, as a business owner, we're in business to make a profit, and profit is money. Mm-hmm. And if you really want to change the world, make more money.
Yeah.
And so this goes to the whole, like, I shouldn't charge as much, blah, 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 blah. And I really want to change the world. So I've got to help all the people who really need it. Don't help the people, I'm sorry, who need it.
Yes.
Right now. Yes. Go make money first on the cash. How the hell can I make as much cash now? Get into your business where you're making a lot of revenue and a lot of profit, and then write a check. Then hire a bunch of Sally Janes to help all the poor people. And my background, remember too, is I'm a clinician. So I love helping all the people, but I know the proper way at this point. After years, I've done everything. When I was, way back when I was young, I used to work in the inner city with AIDS patients. So it's not for my lack of love of people who are in dire straits and need. What I learned is I'm only one person. And when I make a ripple effect with my success in business and working with clients, then my impact around the globe is much bigger. I have clients literally all over the world. They are making an impact where they live. So it's ridiculous when people are like, oh, it's about the money, or I don't want to charge as much. I'm at the point in my career, I have zero tolerance for that, because that's just, you're bullshitting yourself.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think the thing is also when you come from a perspective in a helping industry or a healing industry of, I'm going to help everybody, you end up being burnt out. When you're burnt out, you can't show up for people. You're probably going to have a career change because you're so fed up anyway.
Right.
And
exactly.
you actually are better off pricing yourself higher and then having bursaries for people or subsidies for people or a certain number of free sessions. And often I have found, and a lot of my coaching colleagues will say the same thing, there are a lot of people who need help, but they don't always want it. And you've got to find the people who want the help.
Right.
Because, you know, you can show up for those who need it, but they won't do the work. And I think also when you don't charge enough for your work, people don't value it enough.
Yeah. Free has no value, right? Free has no value on one level. And that doesn't mean that we are not showing up and giving away valuable content, i.e. this podcast, right?
Yes.
There is a difference between giving someone your time, energy, brilliance, and service for free, as opposed to demonstrating through your social media, through a podcast, through your YouTube. I speak, live on stages, etc. It's, to demonstrate my expertise, your expertise. But that's very different. That is marketing. That's very different than, giving your stuff away for free. And it just, I literally just can't even have that conversation. I'm sorry. I can't even have that conversation with people. And I charge a ton of money.
Yeah.
And, when I work with my clients, it's like, I'm their business partner. That's how invested I am with their business. So I'm running with them, and I'm working with them in their business as though it was my multi-million-dollar business. So there's the difference there.
Absolutely. And it's something that conversations that have been had with my colleagues from the Martha Beck Wayfinder training that I did is there's a lot of people who are giving their coaching away for free. And, we meet regularly. And, I've said to a few of these folks, we've spent a lot of money on this course. It was a very expensive course. It's a huge time investment. It's a certification. We didn't wake up and go, oh, people always ask me for advice. Think I might become a coach. And that's what you're doing when you're charging properly for your work, is you're setting yourself apart, and you're coming back to the first point you made. You're valuing yourself and the investment you've made in yourself. It's just so important.
Well, here's another twist. So I want to help everyone reframe this as well. Okay. So everybody take a deep breath. I believe strongly that when you don't charge enough, you're also being bigoted and prejudiced against people who have money. Okay, so let's talk about that for a second. When you say the rich people, which I would consider, right? Which means I still have a coach. I need help. Hello, I need help sometimes. You're saying that people of wealth, or people who have more money than you, they don't deserve help. It's just the poor people. And here's what I want to offer: a couple of things. One is the people you surround yourself is who you become. And that includes your clients. So if you surround yourself with poor people, guess what's going to happen? And when you have wealthier clients, guess what's going to happen? So part of this goes back a little bit to the money mindset, right? It's like, if those wealthy people, and you categorize them as undeserving of help, as they're rich, so they're screwing the world and society, etc., then what happens is you're being a bigot. You're being so negative to them, when guess what? Sally Sue may really need your help more than, and want the help. She wants the help.
Yes.
Why? Because probably she didn't become wealthy. She probably didn't become successful. I didn't become successful without a lot of coaching and a lot of therapy. So I want the help and I'm willing to fork out cash for it, even when I didn't have the kind of cash I do today. So
Yeah.
I think that audience, your audience needs to really examine, what do I think of wealthy people? And if you don't like wealthy people, you're never going to become one. And if you don't believe that wealthy people need and want and are willing to invest in paying for it, that is a catastrophic failure in your business.
Yes. And I think this money, I mean, we could talk all day about the money
I know.
mindset piece. It's a huge one. It's something I've done an awful lot of work on. It is very challenging. I think it's very challenging in the coaching industry, but I see it also in the photography industry of people who it's every industry who catastrophically undercharge, and it devalues the whole industry in my opinion.
And let's be real, don't you want to have a good photographer? Do you want to pay Sally Jane who's like charging nothing or whatever the service? So it's really not service. It's not industry specific. It's women specific. So part of this too, lastly, really is about learning the skill to sell your services, learning the skill to market your service.
Yes.
One of the things I teach my clients is how to actually go through a proper sales call. And this is not like you're just asking a bunch of questions and feeling if it's the right. It's literally walking people through the psychology that they will get up against. It's normal to have objections. That is the way our brain is designed to protect us with change. So when you learn a format, I call it the art of the ask. When you learn a format to actually have an effective sales call, you don't have to worry about being pushy or salesy or arm twisty. So it is, again, a skill. It's twofold here.
Yeah. Brilliant. I would love to know a few tips, more tips, because you've shared lots of tips, which I'm very grateful for a woman who is very skilled, but is sitting and questioning, who am I to earn the big bucks? Who am I to charge more? I know I'd like to double my rates because I know I'd like to have a different lifestyle. I know I'd like to do more. I know I'm worth more. Who am I to do that? How does one shift the mindset to who am I not to? Because it's got such a different energy. Even just saying it's got a different energy to it.
Right. Totally. I think that even what you just said is the start. We have to learn to change our language, and words have power. And we know that words have power because we would never say to our children or any small or younger person or anyone outside of our own head, we would never say like, oh my God, who do you think you are to charge that kind of money? Blah, 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 blah. We would never literally say that. So we must become conscious of what we're saying to ourselves and then reprogram how we're thinking about things. Yeah. Who am I not to charge $25,000 for 6 months? My clients make so much more money. So one of the things I do say is let's remove the emotion and look at the logic. So that is one of the things that's helpful as well. Logically, who are you not to, right? So think about what you are offering and what is the lifetime return on investment for your client. When we can remove the emotion of it being about me, it's all about me. When you actually look at following through with what you say you want to do, and that's change the world and help people, and you look at the LROI, and the way I look at that and I teach clients is, what is the time that you're getting back for the client? What is the money maybe that you're helping them make? And what is the emotional change? And each one of those things, you sell yourself on each one of those things. List out the transformations that happen with your clients. And let's say there's 10. Sell yourself on if they only got the one for 25 grand. So with my clients, like there's a lot they get, but if they only like got one thing, which might just be that they feel like a rock star badass, that's going to change their entire life. That's worth $25,000. So it's like, then when you start doing that, you're like, who am I not? And it's impossible to say that to yourself every day. Who am I not to do this? Oh my God. It's impossible not to have a transformation in oneself. And you can adopt this. One of the things that I say to myself, and I've said this for decades, is I'm powerful and strong. I do whatever I set my mind to. Today, I will do what others won't. So in the future, I can do what others can't. Yes. And I just, and you can't, you're listening, but what I did is automatically, I just did, with my hands up, like a high five almost to myself. When I'm walking around, I'll do a high kick, I'm like, yes. Or when I sign a client, it's like, we want to also reprogram our response to signing a client. So it's all of those kind of things. They all are important. So it's not, to answer your question, it's not just one thing.
Yeah, it's a whole collection of things. And I think shifting yourself from who am I to do this to who am I not to is a process. I think this is where the value of working with a coach really comes in. When you are making a shift with things, is having someone to support you and go, hey, what have we been discussing here? Yes, you can. What are we doing this week to take it forwards? My experience has been that often you can do a lot of the inner work and it takes a bit of time for the outer results to show up, which
of course it does.
I find very irritating.
Me
but
too.
It's one of those things that you've kind of got to white knuckle the gap. And this is where a coach, a good coach has been for me absolutely invaluable, to have someone go, when do you want to go back to where you were? No.
Yes.
Right then, let's keep on going. And so valuable.
And here's the goal with my clients. I'm sure you feel the same. We want our clients to almost forget, why did I hire you? It's like the transformation is so significant that they don't even recognize themselves. This is why you got to write this stuff down, everybody. Every coaching call, you need to write down where you were, like, how are you feeling before the call, so that you have you can look back at that journey and honor and value it. And that's so much value for the future, to remember that you can change. But yes, it's like a process. It's like, it's the beginning, middle, and end. It's like in the beginning, we're just calling your attention to, like you keep saying this, interrupting people, stopping that thought, breaking that pattern of thinking. And then it's application, right? Then you have to apply it. It's the same also, though, with mindset, with selling, or with speaking. My clients are always asking me, what exactly should I say? I'm like, okay, you got to go say that 50 times. It's like, you've got to practice going and telling someone. You've got to show up. And then that's the beginning. And then you can start tweaking. And then it becomes your identity. Then it becomes who you are. Then you're being that businesswoman. Yeah. And you don't have to think so hard about it. It's just who you are.
Yeah. Mary, this has been so brilliant. There's so many takeaways for me here. I'm going to be going back and re-listening. So folks listening, please re-listen to this and take some notes, because there's some really valuable tools in here that are going to make a big difference for you. Big piece for me is this one about really valuing yourself and really getting in touch with what you're uniquely offering. That transformation piece of what you're offering your clients. And that applies whether you're a coach or whatever you do, actually, is what do you show up and uniquely do and offer that nobody else can do like you do? And writing that list, 100 successes, that will be a challenging one. So I would challenge the listeners to do that, and then DM both Mary and myself and report in. We would love to hear about that, because like you say, you're going to get to 20 or 30 and then it's going to get hard, and you're going to have to dig deep with that. And I think exercises like that are such amazing confidence boosters.
Yes, I think that doing that, first of all, most people won't do it. Let's be real. So, part of the exercise here about getting to 100 is for you to follow through, which is also, i.e., part of success in business. And once you start digging that deep and you get to 100, you're going to, frankly, fall in love with yourself. And that is part of this journey, ultimately.
Yeah, absolutely. And if I think it, I know it's such a cliche to say it, but if you don't believe in yourself and your own abilities, it's very difficult to expect somebody else to. And when we're selling something, you need to instill that trust in people so that they will pay you to work with you. And if you're looking to up level your finances and charge more, you have to be the first person who cheerleads your expertise.
Yes.
Mary, I believe you have a free course that people can access to find out and experience a little bit more of your amazing work.
Yes. So I have something called the Fear Breakthrough Formula, and you can go to marybicknell.com/I choose bold. And it's going to walk you through what your brain automatically does around fear. And then you'll get a follow-up email with something called the Guide to Your Hidden Thoughts Around Money and Success. And it will continue some of this conversation that we're having.
Brilliant. So please go and find that. I'll pop it in the show notes. And then can people connect with you on socials, Mary?
Hop over to LinkedIn. I have a YouTube channel. I have a podcast myself called Lead a Life Uncommon. And on LinkedIn, I'm starting to really focus a little. I'm specifically focusing more on LinkedIn. And part of the reason is I can be so much more direct and I don't have to worry about it. So if you want to be really ballsy and direct and just say the things, go be on LinkedIn and, connect with me there.
Amazing. Mary, thank you again very much for your time and sharing your expertise today. It's been really valuable for me to listen to, and sure for the listeners as well. So either of us would love to hear from you, and your biggest takeaways from this episode would be great. Just pop us a message. Mary, thank you. Thank you very much.
Oh my gosh, so fun.
Thank you for listening, folks. I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye for now. Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you've enjoyed it, please share with your friends and be sure to leave me a 5-star rating and review, especially if you're listening on Apple Podcasts. To find out more about my one-on-one coaching, please visit my website, which is emmaobriencoach.com. And remember, folks, when life gives you lemons, you can always choose another fruit. See you next time.